website and sending it out via email like we normally do. And it is now 5 o'clock. So good evening, Edgewood family, and thank you for being here today, this evening. Just a few housekeeping rules. You can still chat in the box, but if you have questions regarding today's presentation, please put them in the Q&A. Get those questions out to you. Hopefully, once they're answered, we'll go ahead and get those out. But at the end of this, we will be recording this, downloading it, and then uploading it and sending it out to you all via email. So trying to think if I forgot anything. I don't think so. So now I will hand it over to Dr. Hernandez.
Thank you, Ms. Olga. All right, good afternoon, everybody. I appreciate your time. I know it's 5 o'clock. I do want to share one detail for our next town hall. I know Olga's going to tell you about it later, but I did want to share that our next town hall in a couple of weeks is going to be closer to 6 p.m. because we do realize, and I know Ms. Olga visited with me on this about 5 o'clock. I know some of you are probably still traveling home. In fact, some of you may be driving while you're listening to this. I know I've done that a couple of times. I think a lot of us have. And so I am going to try to move us to 6 so that we can also get more folks on. But I did promise to keep communicating with you on the work of the district, where we're moving in terms of the next couple of weeks as we approximate Labor Day, and then of course, September 14th. So that's what tonight's about. So I don't want to delay because it is a busy evening tonight. We have this. And then at 6, going to be coming on and talking to our district for anybody that's available, wants to engage in that conversation. We did that as a team. We decided to do that as a result of your feedback from Convocation. There was a lot of positive feedback with some documents, I think, that Libby asked for you to examine before you came on at 6:30. But today's conversation moves into continuing with our Safe Start program here in Edgewood ISD. So if you'll move us into that slide, Ms. Mokos. All right. So as always, these conversations are to keep you informed as a member of our district. As always, my number one expectation is that we keep the information transparent, and that we continue to communicate early and communicate often with you, if you'll keep going. Hey, let me go back, Ms. McCullough, because I always like to take advantage of an opportunity. I don't know about you guys, but if that little girl on the right is not cute, and if you don't smile when you look at her face, then I don't know what's gonna make you smile. I just have to say that as the dad of a little girl, you know, you always remember things like that, but that is, I don't know who took that picture, but I love looking at this first slide because of the way this little girl's looking at us. So let's just keep going, Ms. McClose. So the second slide, I want to take us back to a few months ago, maybe even a year ago, when we started a conversation about Vision 2025. You know, over the last few weeks, the last few months, you've heard me talk a lot about being able to pivot and being able to adapt. Well, I know during these very unprecedented times, sometimes the best thing we can do is go back and intentionally remember that we started with a purpose and a why when we started this journey together 2 years ago. And as human beings, we tend to stick to the things that we consider to be consistent. And I think there's a very valid conversation about remembering the Vision 2025 that we started a couple of years ago. And the fact that our outcome, as you can see it there, I'm not going to read it to you, still remains the same for our district, is making sure that we graduate kids on time, making sure that we follow our core values being to be professional, accountable, and clearly communicate early, communicate often. You hear me say that a lot. And so COVID didn't show up. And now because of COVID, we're going to forget who we are. I think, in fact, remembering who we are, remembering what we do and why we do, gives us a sense of stability. And I will tell you, I've watched much footage from other school districts and talked to teachers this week throughout the district. And a lot of what I'm hearing from you guys is the fact that coming back to the school has given you a sense of normalcy that you probably were looking for. And so I think consistency right now is extremely important. You've heard me talk about our 5 fundamental board superintendent goals. You see those there. I've talked to you many times about where we spend our money, try to be very transparent with that. You've heard me talk about our 5 innovation zones. That has not stopped. We continue to develop those ideas. In fact, we have schools that are moving on in terms of the STEAM programming, the public service programming, early childhood, leadership, I think I said public service, and the leadership zone, as well as early childhood zone. Those things haven't changed. Now, are they moving a little slower because of where we are today? Yes, but our goal is still the same. We have that's okay. Are you, okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, so I want to put this a little bit more into perspective for you. So year 1, we started a conversation with Gardendale Elementary and the Brentwood STEAM School of Innovation. So we're now in a position where both schools have operating partners. We have the Pre-K for SA partnership, which has been a great partnership for us. We may not see all of that today, but in years to come, maybe even beyond our time, there is going to be positive fruit because of this, the development of this operating partner, as well as Brentwood STEAM School of Innovation, who now has a partner in Friends of P-Tech. We have a lot of teachers at that school who are on extended contracts. They've actually been back longer than August. They started in July, in fact. And so I commend them for putting in that additional work to prepare for the educating of our students, because that hasn't changed either. Educating students still is our #1 purpose. Last year, year 2, we engaged with Texas A&M University at San Antonio and really looked at developing partnerships. And because of that, we now have the partnership at Gus Garcia University School and the Burleson School of Innovation, which if you looked at the video that Ms. McCullough sent you before this presentation of the wonderful work that our instructional assistants are doing to support special education, that is very heartwarming to me. It's actually very exciting. This is a group of women who basically said, educate us and we can provide the support that our students need. And so the purpose became their #1 driving force. And they're still out there and they're still facing the same fears that people may have, but they intentionally choose to serve the students of our district. And so I hope you got to see that video if you didn't take some time to see it, because they're just one of many examples. We're going to bring you an example in a few weeks of our bus drivers and the work that they're doing, because I think it's really important that we all remember the fear is the same for all of us. It's how we respond to the fear that differentiates us all. And so I want to highlight those members of our district. And as we go into year 3, you see 4 logos here. Now this is not an exhaustive list. I only get so much room on a paper. But schools like Perales, who are moving into the STEM Innovation Zone, Las Palmas, who's starting our young school for young women, Winston Elementary, that's moving into a possible partnership for next year, and as well as John F. Kennedy, that we're looking at developing a partnership for these schools. This is the trend of the future. And so I thank these principals and the opportunities they've given to us to be able to begin in the conversation. We're at the very early stages. And so I did want to just put that out there, because this is the work that we're doing and it still remains the same. Ms. McCullough? So let's go back to our 5 guiding principles around the safe start. This still stands to be true. Being accurate and timely in communicating, health, safety. We're going to talk to you about the continuity of mental health and well-being, high quality instruction, and educational equity. These are the 5 guiding principles that we have used in terms of developing the EISD response to COVID. And so let's go ahead and start my part in this conversation. Go ahead. So our challenge still stays the same. We are still responding to COVID. These are examples of teachers who are working in our classrooms and are providing remote learning for our students. These are also pictures of our police personnel, volunteers, members of the community, school board members, members of the executive team that are out there passing things out, such as food supplies for our folks. That hasn't changed. As you see there, our purpose still stays the same. We do more than educate in Edgewood, and I think that is what differentiates us from most districts. We provide and we answer to food insecurity. We make sure our people are fed. We also provide them with clothing and every other thing they need. Elementary schools just spent this last week providing backpacks for all of our students. It's very exciting to see our folks, still the same Texas heat that they're out there in, providing this follow-up. Some of our schools are even out there in mascot uniforms, so you can imagine how hot that gets. And also our nutrition ladies who never stopped answering the call. And so I've gone around and thanked them personally because I think they are basically setting the bar high for the rest of us. And I think it's important that we remember that. Go ahead. So I want to bring you back to the conversation about Safe Start and remind you that, yes, we are currently still in the middle of our transitions as we just started the first week of school. Of course, you know now that our board followed up on a resolution that I requested of them to continue to provide remote learning for our students through October the 9th with a full return to our classes on October the 12th. By full, let me define that. By full, I mean is that at that time, we would be following our 3 options that we've provided for our students. So don't misinterpret full to mean that everyone's coming back to school. It just basically means that at that time, we would be looking at our commitment forms, which I'm gonna put a little commercial in, are due September 25th, limited time, September 25th, get those commitment forms in. And I'm doing a commercial here, but it's important that we remind our folks to do that. And so let's keep going, Ms. McCullis. So what's been happening in the city? Because obviously Edgewood is a part of the city, but we're not the whole city. So as of a couple of days ago, the positivity rate in the city is at 9.9%. Now the color system you see here is the system that the city of San Antonio Mental Health uses. This is not the system that we're standing up. So you're gonna see ours here pretty soon. But this is the system that the city is using. And this is one of the guides that I use for the decisions that I make. So I want you to know how I make decisions. But we are well in the moderate range, and we have now dropped because our citizens are heeding the warning: wear your mask, wash your hands, try not to go into big areas where there's concentrated groups of individuals. All that is really starting to drop our positivity rate in the city. And that's important. As I said before, these are the factors that I'm using in determining the decisions that I make. Go ahead, Ms. McCullis. You know, Dr. Wu made the comment the other day. This is Dr. Wu. I'm going to be actually on Univision later on tonight around, I think at 7, on a panel with Dr. Wu speaking to our Spanish-speaking community. So voy a estar hablando con ellos. Let me go ahead and plug my Spanish there. And we're going to be talking about the recommendation that she's making, that at this time, the metric that we're using would support the return of small groups of children in person to our schools. And so I want to keep having this conversation because I want you to know where I stand on this specific piece of the recommendation. We'll keep going, Ms. McCullis. So there are factors to consider during our continual transition process. We still, as the superintendent, my inner team that I work with is my school board. Of course, my school board has been very supportive of my decision-making, and that remains a very strong relationship, so I appreciate them and their effort in supporting. I look at city metrics. You just heard me talk about one. I also continue to monitor our guidance from the Texas Education Agency as well as from the mayor's office. These are all the factors that I consider and that contribute to the EISD Safe Start response. What you're listening to right now is also part of our Safe Start response. It's me communicating early and communicating often in the areas that are most important to the leadership of our district. You'll keep going. So I want to start talking facts with you. So being transparent means that I'm going to share with you information that maybe you are not used to being shared in the past. But one thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to share information with you. And I'm going to be frank with you. And so you've asked me for that. So I'm going to have those conversations with you as members of EISD. So at this time right now, we are currently in a position where we have enrollment of 8,827 students. But a year ago at this time, we were at 9,862. We are missing well over 1,000 kids. And I want you to consider the importance and the ramifications of what that means. If nothing else changed and we stayed missing kids, there are things to consider for us in the future. You've heard me say many times, as a superintendent, I can't just deal with what's happening today. My job affords me and expects of me, requires me, that I be thinking a year or two in advance. This next year is an important year because it is a legislative year. In January, our legislators go back to Austin. So members like Ina Minjares, Ray Lopez, Senator Menendez, these are all friends of the district who will return to the district among the many other representatives and senators in the state of Texas. And so there will be a call to action to say, what are we going to do to support schools in the state of Texas. But I think you know now enrollment is a huge part of how we accrue the necessary funding to keep schools moving forward. Ms. McCullough, if you'll move forward. So bottom line is we need to find our students. That's the bottom line. Every day, so right now we have 1,000 kids, and roughly it costs somewhere between $60 to $70 per kid per day, which roughly equates out to about $65,000 a day that we lose when we don't have kids, or that we can't account for kids that we can claim enrollment for them. So when I share this with you, why are you sharing this with us, Dr. H? Because you should know that information. Because when I have to make decisions and make considerations, these are the kind of things that I have to, which is no different than a household who has a budget. I can hear somebody else's voice. Check your mutes, please. And so these are factors that I have to consider when I'm looking at the future. I share it with you because not to worry you, it's my job to worry. That's what Dr. H gets paid for. But I also am compensated to make sure that I remain clear with you. And I'm asking you for your help. Sir, dear madam, I am asking you for your help. When we start coming to school, and now a lot of you have contact, if we're missing kids, we need to start looking for them. Go ahead, Ms. McCullough. We have members of our teams who are already out there actively working towards finding our kids. The two ladies on the left are examples of the folks who are right now, fear or not, but being communicated to and being educated to support children to want to remain part of Edgewood ISD. I have a theory, a gut feeling right now. Parents have the power to use their feet to go anywhere else. And if we don't answer the call when they need us, we stand to lose their patronage, because that's what they are. They're patrons to us. You've always heard me talk about the Edgewood ISD as a brand. We've worked very hard at building our brand so people stay committed to us. That also involves doing things like what these two ladies are doing, or our other two ladies on the right. They are actively out in public. These are recent pictures of them out there knocking on doors, finding our kids, your kids, our kids, the kids that sit in classrooms. I thank them because these ladies don't have a superpower that protects them from COVID. They're out there because the purpose is stronger than any fear that they may or may not have. And although they may not even be on this call, many of us should appreciate the work that they're doing, because it's still hot. It's still Texas. And these are the jobs that are pounding on the streets. So I say that to you because the purpose continues to drive the work that we do. That needs to stay at the forefront. Go ahead, Ms. McCullough. So Safe Start, let's keep going. Here's where we are. First 2 weeks of school have already passed. We had the week of the 10th. We had the week of the 17th. A number of things have happened. Let's go ahead, Ms. McCullough. So let's think about, what did professional development look like these first couple weeks? Well, these first couple weeks, many of you engaged in everything from pods to morning startups. These are pictures of our instructional coaches. These are pictures of teachers who on the bottom, on the top right, top right. These are individuals who I know were with Marisa working on looking at curriculum of their own time. And if you're on here, thank you, because I'm very well aware of the things that are going on. And I may not have gotten to you because I only have one hand, and you know I love doing notes, but this hand's not quite as good as it used to be. I can only write so fast. But if you're on here, thank you for assisting. Thank you to the many of you who are engaging in the work through the pods. Such a brilliant idea of bringing you together and working in groups to answer questions that you may or may not have answers. But that in the response to COVID, you may not see it printed somewhere, but working together and leveraging our resources gives us the power and the strength to get through this. I firmly believe nothing can stop us from getting through this if we stick together. We're better together as a unit. You keep going, Ms. McCullough. We said a few weeks ago, I remember Angela saying to you guys, here's the 4 core competencies of remote learning that we are going to stand up and make sure that we support you as teachers. We want to build your confidence. We want to build your courage, the courage to be able to ask for help and the courage to receive the help. That's really important. We want to collaborate with you, and we want to continue to develop clarity. Clarity is not a one-time event. Clarity is not a destination. Clarity is a process, and we're constantly developing our process. And so I thank the members of our curriculum and instruction team, school leadership, everybody who works in these areas, principals who serve as leads, youth, pod leaders. If you're helping somebody, even if it's with a kind word, because that's what it takes to deliver high quality instruction, the same instruction you would want for your own kids. You'll keep going. So well, I guess I just answered that. Keep going, miss. I got ahead of myself. These are all examples from across the district, whether you're at Burleson or any one of, I believe that's Las Palmas on the right. I can't remember the other bottom left, the other person. But these are all examples of what's going on in our schools, if you'll keep going, Ms. McCullough. And so thank you to everybody, friends at LBJ, those of you that are teaching in our schools right now, those of you that are using our employee support service, thank you for being here. Those of you that are teaching from home and doing it high quality, thank you too, because I realize we're still in that option period, and I thank you. It takes the same level of courage to be serving, and I appreciate that. And so I ask you to remember what I said 2 weeks ago, stay focused, keep an open and flexible mindset, and continue to seek assistance. Have that courage. So thank you to everybody who's performing this work out there. Go ahead. These are all other examples of things that are going. I have pictures from Stafford, John F. Kennedy, LBJ. I think that's Jessica's room. And also from Winston. And I don't know if you, but I posted this on my Twitter feed the other day. The look the kids have when they get brand new supplies, I hope I never lose that. That's extremely important. They want to come back to school. They're ready to come back to school. Go ahead, Ms. McCullough. So the next slide, when I talked to Ms. McCullough about doing this, I said, hey, Ms. Olga, let's go walk the schools. Let's go talk to our folks that are in the feedback, good, bad, or indifferent. I want the feedback of how people are feeling. What you see in front of you are comments from teachers at Las Palmas, Perales, Winston, just different schools, and what teachers are saying when we're coming through. But I really want you to focus on the one in the middle. I had a great conversation with one of our principals in one of our elementary schools. And it was a very telling conversation, because I think one of our teachers had a conversation about what education is when we're teaching remote learning, and how taking a glimpse into someone's home. We've always used the expression, man, I wish I was a fly on the wall and I could hear, what's going on. But let me tell you something. When you look into someone's home, that is a very raw look at the situation, at the family life that our kids are dealing with every day. In the past, we probably hypothesized of what was happening in kids' homes. But when we're teaching kids remotely, we get a very small taste of the voices that they hear. That's why I specifically chose this title, Voices from the Field, not just the adults, but the kids. And I remember saying to this principal, the takeaway I take from this, the voices, now teachers, I hope you understand something. The voices that you hear, and that maybe you even get a little shocked, you go, oh, I can't believe that's going on. Those voices have always been in the head of our kids. We just didn't hear them. But that doesn't mean that little person, or that middle school kid, or that high school kid that you sometimes wonder why they act the way they do, those voices are there. In the prison of the mind, those voices are there. So I hope we don't forget. Are you there? Oh, sorry. I thought I signed off. So I hope we don't forget this, because this is why if you wonder why Dr. H is so adamant about moving kids back in, it's because this is the reality and they need us. And so let's keep going. So we're still in transition period 1. This is the week of the 24th. You're finishing that up. We're still working in our pods. I know, because I get all the updates. I get to see your comments. And I am a math guy, so I feel more comfortable jumping in with math. But that doesn't mean I won't get into the other areas. But please continue to do that work, Ms. McCullough, if you'll move us along. As we approximate next week, we are still working on that mesh network. Over the next week, we are going to continue to develop partnerships. So Girl Scouts is right now currently working on a partnership for us at the Coronado Center for up to, I want to say, 200 girls as a possibility for them to be able to come to that particular school. If our girls are in remote learning, but they need to go somewhere, that would be a place that would be able to take up to 200 of our girls all day. So we're working on different partnerships. There'll be more written information that we'll be sharing very soon. But I just wanted to share with you that these are things we're working on. So thank you to the team that's been working on this, Ms. McCullough, Mr. Williams, and everybody else. And then another thing I'm doing is that I'm also monitoring the situation with the superintendents that you see listed here. These are the districts that are the closest to us. And so I don't pretend to know everything. So what I do is I surround myself with other thought partners, much like like teacher pods, and we're working together on what's the best solution given that the metrics, the public health metrics in the city. If you'll go ahead and move on. Week of the 7th, I will continue to monitor those Metro health statistics. And that's gonna be, again, part of my decision-making process in terms of students and what we do as a district. Go ahead. But I wanna be very clear about something. These are all things that I'm monitoring. And the numbers drop. And if you recall, I told you back in a few weeks ago, our transition period 1 ends September 11th, 9/11. If you go ahead and keep going. And we move into September 14th. And so as of right now, I still plan on moving forward with bringing all staff back in the district on September 14th. Based on what I know today, I want to continue to share with you. My intent is still to bring all staff on the 14th. And so we shared with you, and we'll continue to share with you tonight, what options you have if you are still in the position that you feel that you cannot return. But in terms of our district, I will be to campus. Our TAs and instructional TAs are already back. And so all of our auxiliary employees are already back. Central office has always pretty much been here. And so I'm going to be expecting everybody else to return to their campuses September the 14th. Parent commitment forms are due September 25th. That's just extra. Go ahead, Ms. McCullough. So what's going to happen during phase transition period 2? So I'm going to move expeditiously. For the 14th, you should expect to see about 5 kids in our classrooms as we start moving forward. At 25% of our students, I'll be asking special ed and ELL bilingual kids to be taken into consideration. And then other students, like students who are in homes that have unreliable internet connections and or homes who we know already where students were in a bad situation, or we've come to find out that they are in an unsafe, we'll be asking to bring in 25% of students. That's 5 kids roughly. Move on. The next week, we will not be bringing students. We will stay with our 5. We will need to work with our kids remotely. We will continue to practice with kids in terms of the kids that are coming, how the arrival, the safety guidelines and strict safety guidelines, and continue with our cleaning of schools and following our own strict guidelines. That will happen the week of the 21st. Go ahead, Ms. Olga. The week of the 28th, we'll introduce an additional 25% of kids. And so that would be another 4 to 5. So some classrooms may have 9, 10, or even 8, because you may be in a classroom where parents still say, well, no, I'm not ready to send them. That's fine, we'll stay remote but in that regards. But we're gonna keep it open because there are many students who are ready to come back. And I believe that as the rates start dropping, that parents will be ready to send, those numbers will start changing. And so that's what we're gonna be that week of the 28th, you'll move forward. Starting the week of October 12th, then we will start looking at our commitment form. We'll know who on our based on our commitment forms, the options that kids have taken. So all that's being taken into consideration as we make these decisions as we move forward. And so that is the start of school all the way to October the 12th. Ms. Olga, I think the next screen is Angela, right? Oh, well, that's just a picture screen, but go ahead. And so I will come back at the end and make some other comments that are probably important to you as well. But again, I want to remain clear in my communication. We are still moving towards bringing everyone back on the 24th. I've done this in a very slow and phased in manner because I don't want to lose the humanity in all this. But at the same time, part of my lens and where I sit in the district, I have to look out for all of us, not just today, but in the future. And I promise you, the community is watching what educators in general are doing, not just in San Antonio, across the state, across the nation, what education is doing. And I promise you, our parents, because I hear a lot of other comments from parents too. And so please know that with decisions I make them very carefully, very humanely, and also being strategic and thinking of what's coming in the future. Okay, so I appreciate you hearing me out, and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Williams for guiding principle 2. Ms. McCullough, it's back to you.
Thank you, Dr. Hernandez. I will go ahead, and Mr. Williams, are you ready?
Yes, the next slide, please. Hello, everyone. I appreciate this opportunity to share with you again this week more information related to the guiding principle number 2, health and safety. Tonight, we'll discuss and provide information regarding mobile meal service, personal protective equipment, additional safety measures that are being taken by the district, and an update on the UIO. Since the onset of the pandemic, our child nutrition department has continued to provide meals to our students. These meals were distributed via a curbside grab and go format at various campus locations throughout our district. Next slide, please. On August the 17th, just about 10 days ago, the child nutrition department enlisted the assistance of the transportation department, and we are now offering a mobile meal service. We understood and understand that some students are not able to come to the campuses to receive meals. Therefore, we have 6 neighborhood sites to make meals more accessible to students. These locations are Rosemont Apartments, Northwest 36th Street at Inez Avenue, Laga Vista Apartments, Southwest 29th Street at Monterey, Juanita Avenue near Afton Street, and the Veterans Stadium parking lot. Again, our goal is to ensure students have access to nutritious meals. Since the last town hall, we received some questions about PPE, basically or primarily in the terms of what the district would provide. So I wanted to share an update on the PPE. All employees received or will receive several disposable and reusable masks. All employees will receive 1 face shield. That's different than what I said the last time. So now we listened to the feedback that we got, and so all employees will receive 1 face shield. Our ECC, pre-K through 2nd grade teachers, and certain special program teachers and assistants will receive additional face shields. Some employees will also receive gloves, such as the nurses, custodians, child nutrition work, and certain other special program employees. PPE as it relates to students, all students will receive several disposable masks and several reusable masks. Our ECC, pre-K through 2nd, and again, certain special programming students will receive what we're calling a bucket hat face shield. The district has also added additional safety measures, which include the installation of 4 touchless water filling stations at each campus. These have been ordered, and we're in the process, or will be in the process of installing those. Again, 4 touchless water filling stations. You can use your water bottle, put it to the device, and you can fill your water bottle without touching the water fountain itself. These stations, again, will be 4 at each campus, and we're trying to get some out to the departments, but we're taking care of the campuses first. So departments, we haven't forgotten about you. Hand sanitizer dispensers have been conveniently placed at entry points and hallways throughout each campus. They're up, for the most part, 90% of those are up now. Our PPS team members have installed plexiglass at all front office areas at each of the campuses. Campuses will also receive 4 single-pane plexiglass dividers for use when conducting meetings. Our custodial team is working throughout the day disinfecting high-touch areas. Every night, we are completing a full disinfecting of the entire campus. So we're deep cleaning every night regardless. So I wanted to make sure that was clear. So every night we're fully disinfecting the campuses. We want to take a moment to just thank the campus personnel for vacating the buildings at 5 p.m. This allows our custodians the opportunity to effectively complete their duties and keep us all a little safer. So thank you for vacating the buildings promptly at 5. So in dealing with and looking at filters for the buildings, we've purchased and are installing the MERV 13 filters. These filters are the industry recommended filter for HVAC systems and are efficient at capturing bacteria and airborne viruses. Okay, UIL and extracurriculars. As a 5A district, per the UIL, Edgewood ISD is authorized to begin volleyball and football practice on September the 7th. The first possible volleyball game could take place on September the 14th, with the first football game at the earliest date, September the 24th. Edgewood ISD's high schools, Kennedy and Memorial, are in the UIL district with 7 other San Antonio schools. It's a 9-member district, and with our 2 high schools and 7 other San Antonio ISD schools. With that said, the district is monitoring the city's ever-changing positivity rates. Dr. Hernandez alluded to that earlier in his presentation, and these rates will inform us to when it is safest to allow student participation in group activities. The decision we make as it relates to competing is directly linked to the decisions made by SAISD as well, because again, 7 of their campuses are our competitors. So as things progress and we have more information as we follow the science, we will provide timely updates via district communication platforms, to include platforms such as the town halls. So hopefully I was able to capture, you all were able to capture from my presentation information regarding the mobile meal service, PPE, additional safety measures, and the UIL update. Ms. Olga?
Thank you, Mr. Williams. So
thank you all for the pleasure of your time.
Sorry, Mr. Williams, you can finish.
Just said thank you all for the pleasure of your time.
Thank you, Mr. Williams, for the wonderful information. And next we have Ms. Trevino.
Good evening, Edgewood family. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to address this. A quick reminder on some of the employee rights and leave that you have available to you. So just want to make sure we're able to inform you and let you know what are some of the leaves that you have available to you under the Response Act. Ms. McCoulis, next slide. Again, a preview. We do have some leave that is afforded to the employees, and this is paid leave. Depends on the type of leave. It's either 100% or it will be 2/3 of your pay, depending on the amount of pay that you receive, period, or there is maximum amounts. We do have emergency paid sick leave. That is if you are yourself under quarantine, or if you're exhibiting symptoms, or you yourself test positive. At that point, you are at 100% and you are afforded 80 hours or 10 days of leave, and that is paid leave. There's also emergency paid leave for you having to care for someone who is under quarantine or is needing your assistance. At that point, you will receive 2/3 of your pay, or if you're having to care for your own child whose child care or school is closed, again, that is 2/3. And then there's also an expansion act under the Family Leave Act. And in that sense, if you have a child and you've been with the district longer than 30 days, you are afforded an additional 10 weeks. So that's a total of 12 weeks. And that is again at 2/3 of your rate of pay. So just wanted to make sure that we are informing you of your rights as an employee, to make sure that you are aware. And if you have any questions, if you can please reach out to our Human Resources Department with Office of Risk Management. And the next slide will inform us on, this is if you are under 2/3 paid leave and you need to make up the other 1/3 of your leave so that you can acquire your full pay. These are some of the reasons on you being able to use your leave time if you have some personal leave or leave that you have not exhausted throughout your career as an educator. So if you have exhausted all of your FCCRA, then you can resort to your own personal or accrued leave. Also, if you choose to stay home due to being in close contact with someone who tested positive and is not seeking medical advice, if you stay home because you've been and you do not go get any medical advice, then again, you will have to use your own leave. If you are having symptoms, but you do not go get some medical advice and are not under medical care, then you will again have to use your own personal leave. Or if you're choosing to stay home and are unable to telework, then you will have to resort to your own personal leave. And then also if you just choose absolutely not to report to work, then of course you will have to use your own personal leave through your supervisor and making sure that your supervisor is informed of the time that you will not be at work. Next slide, Ms. Olga. Just to go over a little bit of our protocol with the response to COVID-19, there are 3 protocols. Make sure that we review these for the employees so that they are aware. As an employee, if you test positive, if you have symptoms, or if you've been in close contact with someone who has tested positive, we are asking the employees to please self-isolate, asking you to report to your supervisor, contact the COVID hotline, and then you will complete the COVID-19 request leave form. And we will go over that here just to, I think the next slide, to let you know how you will complete the form. So it's a reminder to self-isolate. On the request form, we do have the form that is online. We're asking you to call the COVID hotline or the Office of Risk Management at extension 4556 or 210-444-4556. If you are unable to complete the form on your own, we will walk you through the process, show you how to do it, or if you, we can ask you the questions over the phone and we can complete it for you as well. So please do not hesitate. If unable to complete the form, we want to make sure that we can assist you through the process. And we can also communicate to you the rights that you have as an employee and the type of leaves that are available to you. So please make sure you reach out to Human Resources, the Office of Risk Management. Next slide. Also with that, what we have available to you is with the support of Dr. Hernandez and our school board is that we support services. So with that, we have children that are being supervised at various campuses. Just want to say thank you to Mr. Williams and Mr. Molina for helping us provide the support for our employees' children that are being supervised by our bus aides. Our bus aides have been tremendous in helping support. We also have some instructional aides that are assisting at various locations. And in doing that, our employees are able to report to work for those that choose to come in and support our children. So just want to say thank you. And it is, a program has been very supportive and we are seeing that it has assisted our employees. So thank you to Dr. Hernandez and to our school board for allowing this opportunity for our employees. That is a quick, brief overview on some of the afforded opportunities for our employees to make sure that we are supporting our employees and allowing them the opportunity to come in to work if they choose to, and letting you know what your rights are in reference to the available leave that is afforded to you. I'll turn it over to you, Ms. McCoulis.
Thank you, Ms. Trevino. So just a quick reminder before I hand it off over, if you have any questions, I know people are putting them in the chat box. If you can please put your questions in the Q&A box because it's easier for us to download and to gather that information so we can go ahead and put those on a form and send it out to you all. What I do want to say is that we do have Miss Libby at 6:30 this evening. I just want to send a friendly reminder that there are 2 different links. So the link that you're currently on right now is not the link that will be for the series, the EQ series with Miss Libby. So you'll have to log off of this one and then jump on to the other link, which is in the same email that was sent out with the original link for the town hall. Again, she starts at 6:30 and we're super excited. This is just the first of the series. We will have one every month. I will have those dates for everybody, but we really appreciate it and we hope that this helps. I know that we have had her last year, summer, and it has helped the people that have already attended some of the sessions. So we're just grateful that we're able to provide this for you all. With that being said, I will go ahead and turn it over to Ms. Dominguez.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I want to start off just by saying thank you to all of our staff for the hard work that's gone into the first 2 weeks of school. We know that this has been a learning curve for all of us. So if you'll notice, my first slide is it's okay not to be perfect. I think that we really need to give ourselves grace in the process of rolling out the school year with asynchronous and synchronous learning and all of the technology and things that we are struggling through together. So first and foremost, thank you for your due diligence in working together, collaborating effectively, and doing your very best for the students here in Edgewood ISD. So I will share with you, and Dr. Madkins, I think, can speak to this too, as she's talking a little bit later, is that we are in this with you. We are listening. We're learning alongside you. I had a great opportunity earlier this week to visit with some teachers. Yesterday, visited with our bilingual and dual language teachers to get feedback. Dr. Madkins and her team have been with principals to get feedback. So we want to keep refining the processes with you and doing our very best to serve the students of Edgewood ISD. So do know that we'll also be making some mid-course adjustments based on the feedback that we're hearing from you. We'll be rolling out some pieces with our elementary principals tomorrow to tweak and modify some things that maybe we could do it just a little bit better based on the feedback we're hearing from you as you start to engage with our kids, with our parents, and with the content. First and foremost, I will say that we're student-centered, and so what you'll also find this presentation, and I'll shoot out the link, is just an opportunity for teachers to provide feedback that maybe don't feel comfortable speaking out in a whole group session. If you've got particular questions that you want to make sure we're addressing, I do want you to feel confident that we're going to do our very best to listen and to try to adjust and modify to meet the needs of our students and of our staff. So one thing I want to share with you tonight is as we begin getting a little bit deeper into the school year and start to think about those transition phases, it's not enough to just think about the participation of our students, but we really need to start thinking about genuine engagement. With over 50% of our families indicating that they'll remain on remote learning, we want to make sure that we're engaging kids at high levels and starting to refine our craft in a way that keeps them hooked and connected to the school. So last spring, we were super thrilled with the work that our teachers did, both at elementary and secondary level, completing the EISD student learner profiles. This fall, what we'll be rolling out to you, and those are actually already prepped, is a school and student report that will be coming to the campuses soon. Based on your feedback about the needs of every student in Edgewood ISD, we were able to generate some frameworks, some ideas, suggestions for how we hook and engage our students at high levels. So really going to start to talk about the difference between participation and engagement. So on a daily basis, we want our kids to participate. We want to count that daily attendance, those wins, connections. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure that our students are engaged in high quality academic work and that we're scaffolding and supporting them, getting them prepared for the next grade level. So what did we learn from the student learner profiles? Based on teacher feedback around the needs of our students, what we saw from is that we had about 27% of our students that were at a tier 1 level, which meant that they were flourishing with remote and distance learning. So as you get these reports back at the campus, they'll be disseminated by WINS class. Students and parents will actually get an individual profile that says, for example, during the spring, Angela did likely connected with her teacher. She completed her tasks on a regular basis. These are some things we think that you can do to support the school in terms of increasing her engagement in work in the fall with remote learning. On the same note, we also had some students that did not engage or did not connect with us. So about 11% of our students disconnected during that school closure time. This is going to allow our family engagement department to know strategically who we want to reach out to, who we're going to provide targeted support to make sure that those families have what they need to support student learners being successful with remote learning. This data will also help us to think through recommendations. And so in some cases, the parent may say, I want my child to remain on remote learning, but what we're finding is that they're really struggling in that remote learning environment and may need to be on a hybrid schedule so that we get some contact and touch points with that child in efforts not to have regression or continued slide with the academic progress of our students in the district. So this is going to be really valuable data. Just want to let you know that it's coming. We're going to dose it to you, so don't worry. I'm not going to send you the full report right all at once, but start giving you little pieces and ways that we can begin to work with kids to increase their levels of engagement while they remain in the distance learning setting. So they'll be identified by four tiers, and there are 3 categories that we look specifically at. Is their spring engagement level during school closure? Then we also looked at their pre-COVID attendance. So how are they doing before we actually close schools? And not surprisingly, we saw that kids that were already struggling with attendance didn't do as well with school closure. They had even greater difficulty engaging with the school. And then social and emotional needs that likely need to be addressed in order to get the student to the levels of academic engagement that we're hoping to attain with our students. So just know that it's coming. It's great data. I really appreciate our partners at TNTP. I really appreciate our teachers. So there were over 30,000 documents completed. Mr. Street worked really hard to help you guys clean those up in the spring so that we could use this data in a way that we cycle it back in and support our learners this fall. So wanted you to know that your hard work was definitely valuable and will guide the work that we're doing moving forward.
Thank you, Ms. Dominguez. So now we have Dr. Mackins up next.
Thank you, Ms. McCoulis. Safe start, strong start. So if you'll advance the slide. So we've implemented preventive measures, and we're ready to respond to the threat of COVID-19. Systems and protocols that we've implemented to keep employees safe, to keep students safe, and to keep you safe that are aligned with the state's guidebook for public health operations. Our leaders are prepared and are ready to respond. If you'll advance. As part of our Safe Start response, administrators have participated in public health to discuss the actions that school systems would take and determine who within the school system would be responsible, and the planning steps the school system would put in place to address each scenario effectively. So think about it like an emergency drill, a fire drill, or a pandemic drill. So our principals have gone through various scenarios, and so we're ready to respond if and or when something would perhaps happen. Advance the slide. District Safety Committee that's been led by Judy Gomez, Ms. Trevino, Jennifer Mia, and Dr. Carson. They've created a comprehensive, along with the team, have created a comprehensive COVID-19 preparedness plan in response to the pandemic. It's going to be all our responsibilities, especially on September the 14th, to make sure that this plan is implemented. If you look at the table of contents, every situation that we would come across is found in this plan. If you'll advance the slide. If you haven't had an opportunity to research our COVID-19 or our Safe Start website to see where all of our COVID-19 resources are, please do so. Many of the documents are live documents, and so they're updated regularly based on information from Dr. Wu or the CDC or from TEA. So please make sure that you're checking that regularly. If you'll advance the slide. So in looking at preventive measures, you probably experienced those when you came up on the teacher workday to work in your classrooms. But I do want to stress that preventive measures are in place. Each campus has a designated COVID-19 administrator, as well as a nurse that are working hand in hand to make sure that preventive measures are being implemented on each campus. Each campus has a screening data point person that routinely looks at the data with the screening each day. That information is destroyed on a weekly basis, Any teacher, staff, or visitor who does not pass the screener will be prohibited from entering the campus. If you will advance the slide. And just as Ms. Trevino displayed what happens if an employee has a situation with COVID, we also want you to know that we have a very comprehensive plan that also addresses a student who may have come in contact with someone or who may have tested positive with COVID. Coming up in the next few weeks, we have principal town hall meetings for parents. Each campus will host their own principal town hall. Our elementary town halls will be on September the 9th. The middle schools will be September the 10th, and the high schools will be on September the 10th as well, in which principals will discuss our celebrations for the first few weeks of school, discuss resources to ensure that we are addressing, to explain how we are addressing academic, social, and with our students, asking parents to partner with us to make sure that our students are being successful, as well as what we need for them, just to make sure that we are there to support the family and the community. As we know, we do various outreach beyond the school, and so we want to make sure that our parents are aware of the different resources that we're providing for the community, as well as we want to update our parents on the progress that we're making with our mesh network and how we can make sure that their kids are connecting with the internet. You'll advance the slide. Dr. Hernandez has already mentioned this, but I'd like to remind you again, September the 25th is the deadline for parents to submit their commitment forms. That's the last change their commitment form for this upcoming grading cycle. So when we come back on October the 14th, whatever they've selected by September the 25th, that's the last time they can change it for that grading cycle. So we want you to make sure as you're communicating with your parents that you can communicate that. If a commitment form has not been turned in, it will default to a remote learning method. So we'll also be communicating additional information to parents through our website as well as social media with more specifics in that area. I'd like to take the time now to just highlight some of the great things that are going on since school started. I want to remind us again, like Dr. Hernandez said, that our purpose does remain the same: to graduate all scholars, college, career, and military ready by their expected date of graduation. Our students are eager to learn and ready to collaborate and to express themselves. They've missed us and they're ready to show their work and they're ready to tell us all about it. We'll advance the slide. Principals are leading and collaborating with courage, confidence, and clarity, and they're leading and setting expectations. As you can see, where we have several principals there, several different staffs represented, where we have principals leading conversations and guiding the work. Teachers, you're back doing what you love. You're here serving kids, and you have our unending respect and support, and we can't wait to see you on September the 14th. We know that you're working hard. We know that we have several of you up here that have been up here at least once or twice, if not every day, since we've been, since school started. We know that we're all in this together, and we want you to know that we've got this. We're working together. If you'll advance the slide. We just have some more pictures where you can see different staff members here working collaboratively, enjoying one another's company. You can see the teacher here on the whiteboard, getting back, doing what we love to do. We're all teachers at heart, and so we really appreciate the hard work. We know that this has been a heavy lift for all of us, especially when you're doing something new, and know that we see you. We appreciate all that you do for our kids.
Thank you so much, Dr. Matkins. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over really quick to Dr. Hernandez, and then I will close out after him shortly.
Well, Dr. Mackin stole some of my thunder there, so that's okay. No, I'm just messing with you. But I do want to echo here as we close out just some of the things that I heard. Tonight was about staying informed and keeping you informed and staying committed to our purpose and remembering that you, as the people that we serve, we have an obligation and a commitment to bring things to you that keep you better informed, because a better informed public means that you are healthier, you are safer in your well-being, in your mind. I can't maybe answer every question for you or give you everything that you would like, but I can keep you informed. And so I want to thank also the members of this panel and the rest of the executive team, even though they may not be on here, because I believe teachers are wholeheartedly the front lines and principals and everybody else. But I also believe that we have to acknowledge the people that work. Central office also works very hard. And these men and women have been here from day one. We never went home. They work all the time too. And so I want to say thank you to them. I want to say thank you to those who lead school leadership, instruction, because I hear teacher voice. We've asked you many times, we're going out, we're meeting with you, we're meeting with principals, we're meeting with members of the community. Everybody in this panel has tried to keep an open ear and contribute to making a better decision as a group. So thank you, teachers. Thank you, everybody who made the time to be here. I continue to be honored to be your superintendent, and thank you. And if you're a praying person, keep all of us in prayer because we need it. And I'm going to reiterate again, as I said before, we will get through this. Make no bones about it. We are going to be better on the other side. We're going to be a better and more efficient school district. And we're just going to be better. We're going to have stories for when we retire about the 2020 year. I'm already looking forward to telling my grandkids those stories. And so, all right, I'm going to toss it back to Ms. McCullough.
Thank you. And we want to just remind you that we will be having some parent town halls next week. And I know you are actively talking to your students and your parents. So let them know that we will have a English parent town hall on September 1st and a Spanish parent town hall on September 2nd. So if you can please let your families know as you're communicating with them this week and next week. We will be putting these out on social media, and we will be sending out the links to that as well. I will send those out probably starting on Monday on social media. And again, I just want to remind everybody, if you still had any questions, to please put them in the Q&A. Libby does start at 6:30, and I will be introducing. We will have some music. She did request 80s, so we'll be playing some 80s music for Libby. While you have questions, I'm going to go ahead and play some music for you now and leave it open for about 5 more minutes and then shut it down. That way we can get started with our next session. Thank you again, everybody, for being here. We really appreciate you and all the time and dedication with doing something that you love. So I will stop talking and I will play some more music.